All right, so welcome back, Elaine, to the Zoom room for another Art of Letting Go live session. Well, good chat there about
Yeah,
attachment and inspiration versus motivation. But let's dive into today's lesson, which speaks to that, our teaching and lesson. So I'll start off with the daily quote as usual. A bit of teaching around that, and then that'll lead us into our lesson for the day, which is all about giving and receiving miracles. Okay, so let me share my screen with you. You can read the quote. That'd be helpful.
yeah,
All right, there we go. Screen. All right, so if you can read the headline quote from Albert Einstein, believe it or not. Isn't that interesting? From a
mm,
scientist, a quote
yeah,
like this.
yeah. There are only two ways to live your life. One is as though nothing is a miracle. The other is through everything is a miracle. Mm.
Yeah, the other is as though everything is a miracle. Pretty extraordinary for a scientist to say that. I mean, he was an extraordinary man, really, because he transcended the limits of science. There's no doubt. In the latter part of his life, he became much more philosophical, and that could have been a philosopher or a spiritual teacher saying this, not the most famous scientist probably of all time, because most scientists deny that miracles are possible. They believe only in the laws of physics. Scientific materialism says miracles aren't possible. The laws of physics apply always, and there are no exceptions to that. But in the latter part of his life, Einstein became more of a philosopher and even a mystic, you could argue. Saying things like this. He said, that great quote about life is an optical delusion of consciousness. Well, that's could have been said by a mystic. The quotes about significant problems we face cannot be solved at the same level of thinking we're at when we created them. Just really, that's higher awareness coming through in those quotes. So he was looking for what he called the grand unified theory in his second half of his career. That would seemingly unite the four seemingly separate observable forces that operate in the physical universe: gravity, electromagnetism, the strong nuclear force, and the weak nuclear force. Those are subatomic. In one theory that explained all of them and didn't contradict itself. And he failed. He couldn't do it, as everyone who's attempted this has, not because he wasn't intelligent enough to figure it out, but because it's actually impossible. It's an impossible task. It's like the impossible cube. We look at this, sort of illustrates the point visually. So, where are we? It's yeah. Is it here? Where are we? There we go. So if you look at the cube on the right here,
Mm-hmm.
and you try and make sense of that, you're never going to make sense of it, are you?
No.
Whichever way you look at it, there's going to be a wheel off somewhere. You go, well, that down one should be behind this
Mm-hmm.
front one, but it's in front, so it doesn't make sense. This defies the laws of physics. If you look at it coming the other way, out of the page, from the top down, then there's also well off. That one is in front of that one, and that shouldn't be the case. Do you see that? It's coming up and outwards. So whichever way you look at it, it doesn't make sense. And you could look and look and look at it and try and make sense of it, and you wouldn't, because it doesn't make sense. And that's sort of an analogous to what Einstein and other scientists have tried to do. So they're looking and they're looking at the construct of separation, which doesn't make sense, and they're trying to make sense of it by unifying it, and they can't. It's the same thing, you see, which is why he couldn't make sense of it. And he couldn't find this grand unified theory, because it doesn't exist in the thought system of separation. It's impossible to unify the fragmented universe of the ego, which, remember, is just a belief in separation, into one simple formula. The whole point of the ego is that it's fragmented, it's separate, and that it defies unity. The whole thing was made out of the defiance of unity, out of the thought of the opposite of unity, which is why you don't see unity manifested in this world and in this universe very often. So the idea of separation means that it is fragmented by nature, it's chaotic, and it's incapable of unity by definition, because its whole thought system, its whole existence is based on the idea of separation. If we look at this diagram, it illustrates it quite well. Sent into hell, the ego, or the consciousness, or the universal mind, or the belief in separation, also called Satan in some religious traditions, is the idea of separation. Right? It's the idea, and not just the idea, it's the belief in separation, which then leads to a whole alternative thought system and reality based on that idea as its fundamental premise. And then if we believe that idea, then we have to believe all of its consequences, and we have to believe that this world is real, all the consequences are real, we really are in the world, we really are a separate self, we really are bodies, and all of it becomes very, very real. And this is saying, well, there's a way out of it. You don't have to believe in this. So don't try and find unity in separation. You find unity outside of the thought of separation. And this is where the spiritual teachers come in. Say, don't look in the construct of separation for unity, as Einstein was doing. You have to go beyond it and transcend it. And you do that in your mind. You do that by going within. The kingdom of heaven is within, as Yeshua said. Buddha called it nirvana. Other teachers have called it other things. But there is a pure formless reality in your own mind that's completely transcendent of the idea of separation and all of its consequences. And you need to go there, outside of the thought system of separation, to find the answer. And there you'll find love, peace, joy, and happiness that are eternal, that are not affected by any of these ideas of separation, any of the consequences. So that's what we have to do. It's very simple, but it's not easy to do, because when we're caught up in the illusion of a separate self, all these apparent manifestations of the thought system of separation appear to us to be very real. And they appear to have power over us, and they appear to be able to do things to us, our separate self, that are not nice, or maybe we think they're nice. We think we desire them, or we fear them. But it all seems to be real to us. And the Holy Spirit just reminds us that none of it is true and none of it is real. So that's the only way out. Don't try and make the thought system of separation unified. Just perceive it correctly, that it's all false. And that's the way out of the dream. So the separation, or the fragmentation and the chaos doesn't mean that unity doesn't exist. It just means that you won't find it in the manifestations of the idea of separation. And that sort of should be logical. Well, of course, you're not going to find unity in the projection of the idea of separation. You're going to see separation projected, which is exactly what we do see if we don't correct our minds. We see the ego, we see the thought system of separation projected out in this world all over the place. And that then seems to be the default reality. So this is the universe, physical universe we think we know, we think is reality. It's just a projection of the belief in separation outside the mind that projected it to create the illusion or delusion of separation of the mind from its source and its projections, as Einstein himself observed in this profound quote. So if you can read that. I mentioned a little bit earlier, this is the quote about the optical delusion of consciousness, which is one of his more famous quotes.
A human being is part of the whole called by us universe, a part limited in time and space. He experiences himself, his thoughts and feelings as something separated from the rest, a kind of optical delusion of his consciousness. This delusion is a kind of prison for us, restricting us to our personal desires and to affection for a few persons nearest to us. Our task must be to free ourselves from this prison by widening our circle of compassion to embrace all living creatures and the whole nature in its beauty. Albert Einstein.
So a great quote. Any thoughts on that?
Well, yes, very profound. It's all just an optical delusion.
And this could be a mystic saying this. This is, this is a scientist, but he's come to the same conclusion as the mystics throughout time have come to. They've said the same thing. It's Maya. It's an illusion. And our task must be to free ourselves from this prison by widening our circle of compassion to embrace all living creatures and the whole of nature and its beauty. He's talking about love. He's talking about unconditional love, which all the great teachers have talked about. So this could be a quote from Yeshua. It could be a quote from the Buddha. They taught this. He reached the same conclusion by following a scientific path and taking it to its highest level, which sort of indicates, well, all roads lead to the truth. And whether you take a spiritual road, or you take a scientific road, or you take a philosophical road, eventually it leads to the same realization, the same awareness. And you see that this universal truth coming through in quotes like this. This could have been any number of mystic spiritual teachers could have said this, but it was a scientist. If you look at the boat, we've done this before, so there's nothing new to you. But if you look at that first up, most people see a boat with the sea surrounding. I did. It was my first. I saw it in COVID. It was interesting. So maybe I was like wanting to travel.
Shark, isn't it? Shark's mouth.
Some people have said it could be a shark. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you look again, you see, well, actually, it's a cheesecake. Oh, I didn't see that to start with. I thought it was something else, which is indicative, really, of how our perception creates our reality. You look at that and you think it's something, and actually, it's not that at all. It's something else. Well, how do we know that that's not how all of life is? We think it's something. We've got a fixed idea of it, and it's not that at all. We just confused. But if we believe it's that, then that's our reality. That's what we impose on ourselves. You want it to be a shark, okay, it's a shark for you, and then you might feel some fear. You want it to be a boat, and you desire a holiday. You go, well, hey, it's a boat and a holiday, and then you start dreaming about your next cruise. but it's all just a self-created reality. It's not real in actuality. At all. It's your diagram illustrates how life works. We look at the world, which is like the image, and then we interpret it and we create a meaning and a purpose out of it, which is entirely self-created. It's not actually what it is, but that's what we perceive it to be. And so then it becomes stated on that, then we'll argue. People have gone to wars over this. I think it's a shark. You think it's a shark. I think it's a sea. And we go, well, we don't agree, and now we're going to argue over it.
Yeah,
and then we put ourselves into different camps. Oh, well, you're in the shark camp, and I'm in the boat camp. And actually, none of us is correct. It was a cheesecake all along.
I know.
Just didn't realize it. Maybe that's indicative of the whole of human history. We argue over, well, I say it's a shark, you say it's a boat, and actually neither of us were correct. We were both delusional. Actually, it was something entirely different. We just neither of us could see that. So the image, the quote, this is all, very profound thinking that is designed to awaken us from the dream of perception, realizing that it's just a prison. We've put ourselves in this prison. What this realization helps us see is that this is a self-imposed prison. So I don't have to keep believing in this. I can free my mind from this if I choose to. It's up to me. I widen my circle of compassion to embrace all living creatures and the whole of nature and its beauty. Well, there's the formula, love. He's talking about there is an unconditional love. He uses the word compassion. We in our course language, we use the word unconditional love or empathy. But it's the same thing. This is love extending outwards to all living creatures, all sentient beings, and appreciating them for what they really are, which is true awareness. Which is our awareness. Absolutely, what every great spiritual teacher has taught, totally in alignment with what Course in Miracles teaches, and other great authentic teachings like Buddhism. In fact, Albert Einstein said Buddhism was, in his view, the most true religion. But there are, you look at any of the mystic paths of any religions, they have the same truth, which is there, but we have to go beyond our misperceptions and beyond our prejudice and our preferences to perceive that. Okay, so back to the Big Bang. We talked about that briefly. We literally went out of our minds when the universe began. Physical universe of time and space began in what cosmologists have called the Big Bang, a massive explosion of energy that's been expanding outwards ever since. And we obviously remain out of our minds as long as we believe we are living in a body, in a world outside of us. Clearly, because that's not the truth of who we really are. But while we're seemingly living in a body in this world, we do have the choice of how to perceive everything in the world, which is what Einstein is alluding to in today's quote. You can either perceive it from the ego's perspective in a very limited way and put ourselves in the prison of the optical delusion of consciousness, or you can perceive it differently. So we can choose to perceive everything as only what it appears to be. In other words, that there is no deeper or higher dimension of reality than the physical universe and is the ultimate reality. Right? That's a perception that philosopher Ken Wilber calls flatland, which has found its best expression in the scientific materialist worldview based on Newtonian physics, which postulates that the physical universe operates according to fixed laws independent of the observer. So if we look at this diagram of the integral model, illustrates it quite well. Sorry, one there. Yeah, integral model. This is someone who's fixated on the external aspects of the model. So the objective upper right or upper left, objective it, which is our body, our individual body, our behavior, things we can measure and touch that are observable in time and space on an individual level. And then there's the collective aspect of that, which is collective patterns of these form systems, networks, technology, things like governments and the whole natural environment. Nature is a living system. This is focused really on the external world. So you think that you're an exterior world, and at the extreme of that paradigm, you deny the interior. So no, there's no subjective self, there's no interior dimension of mind. It's just what we can see, feel, touch, and taste in the world, and that's reality. So that's the extreme of the scientific materialist paradigm, that only form is real, and that there's nothing else. And then the problem becomes, well, how do we explain the existence of mind? How do we think then? Clearly, that's not physical. Thoughts aren't physical. Feelings aren't physical. How do you explain that? And they explain it away by saying, well, it's just a delusion based on brain function. So your brain comes up with these delusions, and anything that you think and feel here is simply not true. Only the material is true. Funnily enough, they're not that far from the truth, but just not for the right reason. Now, none of it's true because the idea of separation isn't true, and its projection as the material body in this world isn't true. So understanding this would also invalidate their belief in the objective world. So they're not open to that. So that's why they want to stay fixated in the material body. Because if you open your mind to this awareness, you really then start to become aware of the mind and the thoughts and the emotions, and you can correct them. So, well, maybe I'm not these thoughts and these emotions. Maybe I'm something beyond that. Maybe I'm an awareness deeper or higher than just thoughts, emotions, memories, states of mind, perceptions, and immediate sensations that I experience in my physical body. Maybe I'm not any of that. Maybe I'm a lot more than that. And so that opens your mind to the spiritual. But if the ego tells you, no, you're only a body and the mind doesn't even exist, how can you change your mind if the mind doesn't exist? Do you see how cunning it is? There's no way you can change your mind if you're just a body. And so then the change of mind that would bring about your awakening is denied because of the body identification. So it's cunning, isn't it? It's very subtle and it's cunning. But that's at the extreme of the scientific materialist paradigm, what it's done. Oh, you're just a body, and any mind is just a product of your brain function, and it has no existence on its own. So therefore, you can't really change your mind. Your mind is just a consequence of the body. But that's totally upside down. It's not the truth. Actually, the body is a consequence of the mind, of the split mind that believes in separation. And then consequently, the body is the correct causation. But if you invert causation and make the body the cause of consciousness, everything's then upside down. You see that? It's a totally backwards, upside down thought system, which actually doesn't make any sense at all. But the ego tries to make sense of it, and has sponsored that, trying to make sense of it quite eagerly. And so we have a medical system that tries to make sense of this, totally illusory deception that the body is reality, and the mind and the consciousness just comes out of the body. Okay, so thoughts on that? Any questions on that?
No, that's fine.
So what I'd recommend, if you want to dive deeper into this, is to understand what the thought system of scientific materialism involves. You can watch Rupert Sheldrake's bonus talk. It's quite a famous TED talk that he did. It was in 2013, and it was banned. Believe it or not, TED said, "Sorry, we're not gonna host that on our network." And he wasn't doing hate speech. He wasn't slandering it. But what he was doing was he was questioning the entire scientific paradigm. And they didn't like that. The ego didn't like that, so it banned the talk. He questions, and he says, well, science is just a dogma. the dogmas of scientific materialism, there are 10 of them, need to be questioned because they're just dogmatic beliefs. They're not true. So then how is scientific materialism any different from a religion? It's the same kind of dogmatic approach. And they've actually denied the scientific method of just observing objectively and seeing what the results are and then coming up with a theory that matches the results. That's not what they've done. The results are fudged. They interpret the results according to a pre-existing dogma. And if those results don't fit, then they chuck them out or they manipulate them so that they do fit. Well, his argument is that's not good science. Good science says, okay, these are the results, and we're not going to try and, fix the outcome to perpetuate our theory. We'll just question it. Maybe our dogma isn't correct. If it doesn't explain all of the observed results, then it can't be correct. That's how science was born. You observe, and then you find explanations for what you've observed that prove that observation is correct. Okay, so that's Rupert Sheldrake, Scientific Materialism, TED Talk. There's also an article, if you want to read. He's written quite an in-depth article on setting science free from materialism. I just actually go through the 10 creeds. So the scientific creed, these core beliefs of this new religion, really, is what he's arguing. It's a religion. Scientific materialism has become the dominant world religion because most people believe in it, even if they don't identify it as such. They just believe it by default. So everything is essentially mechanical. Dogs, for example, are complex mechanisms rather than living organisms with goals of their own. Even people are machines, lumbering robots, in Richard Dawkins' vivid phrase, with brains that are like genetically programmed computers. Okay? So it's a very kind of robotic, kind of mechanistic reality, and all matter is unconscious. It has no inner life or subjectivity or point of view. Even human consciousness is an illusion produced by the material activities of brains. Okay? So the brain is primary, and consciousness is just a byproduct of brain function, which then must be unreal, totally inverting reality. Making the body real and the mind unreal, which I guess what would you expect from the ego but that. The total amount of matter and energy is always the same, with the exception of the Big Bang, when all the matter and energy of the universe suddenly appeared. Okay? So you probably heard that law that says, energy can't be created or destroyed. It's constant. It just transforms. Except there's a massive exception. At the inception of this whole system we call the Big Bang, all matter and energy in the universe appeared in one blinding explosion, which they have no idea how that happened. They can't explain that. All the models break down at time t equals 0 when the Big Bang happened. And so there's a massive kind of hole in the system. Okay, well, it all just so-called spontaneously happened. You have no explanation for why it happened. We just explain that away as some kind of, mystery. Oh, well, we can't explain that. We'll just accept it. And we'll go from there. And then we'll work out how it all happened based on the Big Bang. But how do we even know the Big Bang's true? This is where the questioning of the Holy Spirit comes in. It says, well, how do you know that any of this is true? And the truth is you don't until you've progressed it further. So the laws of nature are fixed. Number 5, they are the same today as they were at the beginning, and they will stay the same forever. Well, again, that's not true. They seem to evolve. They seem to change. The constants, so-called constants of things like gravity and the speed of light, change. There were a whole lot of measurements done in the 1920s and 30s, and they were significantly different, like by 1 to 2% different, which is quite big in scientific terms, from the measurement of constants in other decades. So how's that possible? When Rupert Sheldrake queried that, he went to the head of the metrology department, which is the branch of science that deals with measurement. And he said, oh, well, you've stumbled upon the most embarrassing fact in modern science, these constant change. And so the guy says, well, these are just errors. So Rupert Sheldrake said, well, how do you know they're errors? Maybe they're not. Maybe they're accurate. No, 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 they must be errors because our dogma says that the laws of nature are fixed. So we'll ignore the evidence that they're not, and we'll just say, that those are anomalies, that those test results are somehow not right. And then Rupert Sheldrake says, well, how do you get away with it? Fudging. And he says, no, we don't call it fudging. We call it intellectual phase locking. So it's a fancy name for like, well, actually, we're just fudging it. So listen to the talk because he goes into this. It's fascinating, and you see even at these hallowed halls of science, they're fudging it because they don't want to admit that their system is flawed, and that's just dogmatic. That's exactly what religions have done. Oh, we have a dogma and it's not open to question. Well, the Renaissance and the scientific revolution that led to the Industrial Revolution were all about, well, actually, we're not bound by the dogma of religion. We can think for ourselves. We can question, and if these laws don't make sense, then we can do away with them. We can come up with other ones, with better ones. But science then denies its methodology, and it becomes just another dogmatic prison, which imprisons us into the optical delusion of consciousness, which is not, its true purpose. So number 5, it says nature is purposeless. Evolution has no goal or direction. Okay, so it's just all kind of a random evolution of these various life forms, and there's no particular goal or direction. It's just kind of random parts thrown together in this accidental universe, and that's why that thought system is spiritually bankrupt, and why people will never find a sense of higher meaning or purpose in it, because it's just saying, well, it's just a kind of random product of random evolution that's created all this, and there's no underlying deeper meaning or purpose to it. All biological inheritance is material, carried in the genetic material, DNA, and other material structures. So it's all, we've heard the saying, well, it's in your genes. You're getting sick, you're getting cancer or whatever because it's genetic. But that's just it's not the case. That's been disproved, that theory. But yet the scientific materials paradigm holds to this. Minds are inside heads, nothing but the activities of brains. When you look at a tree, the image of the tree you're seeing is not out there where it seems to be, but inside your brain. So they're saying that you are a brain, and all of this is just an optical delusion of the brain. Funnily, sometimes these things have elements of truth because it is an optical delusion, but not for the reason they think it is. It's an optical delusion because the mind that made it up, including the whole physical universe and the body and the brain, that mindset, that thought system is false. But you have to be willing to zoom out of the activities of brains in order to see that. Okay, and then number 8, memories are stored as material traces in brains and are wiped out at death. So these memories aren't real. They're just some kind of material trace. You can track them in the brain. Well, no one has ever been able to see a memory. This is the problem with this theory. You can't actually dissect a brain and find any memories or any perceptions or any thoughts in there. You just see a whole lot of gray matter that seemingly produces them. But it gets even more weird because, as you go into phenomena like telepathy and near-death experiences, you start to transcend these limits. And these unexplained phenomena like telepathy are just a transcendence of the limits. They're a result of truth rather than illusion in this world. And then finally, mechanistic medicine is the only kind of medicine that really works. So allopathic medicine dedicated mostly to treating the body. Even the aspect of it that's dealing with the mind, psychiatry, deals with it from a very body-oriented perspective. It says, well, you're going to take a drug which is going to manipulate your body's biochemistry, and that's going to change your mental and emotional state. Okay. So those are the 10 tenets, and together these beliefs make up the philosophy or ideology of materialism, whose central assumption is that everything is essentially material or physical, even minds. And this is the hardcore scientific materialist paradigm that he's saying science needs to be set free of, because it's a delusion and it's not true. So he was really like a prophet. If you look back to what's happened in human history, Rip up and giving a scientific talk that questioned this was the same as Yeshua going into the temple in Jerusalem and questioning and defying the religious leaders of the time. Same thing. He's defying the ruling authority of his day. And of course, their response is predictably to ban him. No, we don't want this. We're gonna ban this because we don't want people hearing this. So nothing really has changed over 2,000 years. He was just the latest version of someone with a more expanded mind, who has seen more, and then comes back, comes into the world and speaks that truth, and then is banned. People don't want to hear that truth. Harks back again to the analogy of the allegory of the cave, Plato's cave, same idea. The awakened teacher, who was Socrates in his story, starts to question the cave. All these prisoners are chained up and tied in this darkened cave, and they're just staring at the wall in front of them. And then there's some action going on behind them. There's a fire, and there's various people prancing around and doing puppet shows, and then those figures manifest on the cave wall, and these prisoners just think that's reality, and they never think to turn around and question. But when someone questions it and then says, okay, I'll free myself from my chains, I'll go outside the cave, I'll see the sunlight, which is amazing. And he goes back into the cave and he says, hey guys, I've got good news for you. What you believe isn't real. There's a reality beyond this. Follow me. They don't want to know. So nothing's really changed. That's why they banned his TED talk, because they don't really want to know the truth. Prefer to believe in the illusions. All right, so watch that, listen to that, and read the article. If you want to read the full article, definitely worth reading to understand this paradigm in more detail. And you start to then see how pervasive this is in our society. That scientific materialism, as he argues, is the dominant worldview and therefore religion on this planet. All right, so any thoughts on that, Elaine?
No, yeah, I've actually seen that video, but I'll have a look at it again, yeah, because it's always good to be reminded, yes, because we can always get sucked into the ego way. Well, I frequently do, so I do need reminders.
Yeah. Well, that's the that's the temptation of the ego. Even though you understand this on some level, it's easy to forget it. You get caught up in illusions of the world and judging them, and then you lose touch with this transcendent awareness that knows that none of this is true, that it's just a dream world.
Yeah.
Okay. So alternatively, we can alternatively to the scientific materialist paradigm, we can choose to see a dimensional reality beyond this flatland of material objects and bodies while we still perceive them with our physical senses. This, quote, seeing happens not with our body's eyes, but with our minds that reinterpret our sense perceptions in a transcendent way to free us from limiting beliefs such as scarcity, suffering, sickness, and death seem to be expressed in the forms of this world. So therefore, as Einstein points out, the choice is between seeing nothing as a miracle, i.e. as part of scientific materialist flatland, and that's all there is to it, or everything is a miracle, which means that you perceive a deeper dimensional presence of pure formless awareness that underlies every form in this world. When you choose the form of flatland worldview, there's nowhere else to go. If that's all there is, then the world is very flat. There's nothing else, and quite frankly, I don't quite know how people cope with that. Because as you get older and you know you're approaching death, if you believe you're a body and a brain, that's the end of you, right? The end of your consciousness. No more me. I simply expire when I die. That's it. End of. Even though there's enormous evidence to indicate that that's not the case. And this is what Rupert Sheldrake is saying. Well, how can you ignore all that evidence? That's not proper science. So people die and they have near-death experiences and they come back. Now, after 15 seconds after you die, your brain dies. All brain function stops. There's no electrical activity. The brain is essentially dead. And yet people come back and they talk about these profound experiences they had while their brain is dead. So how does that work exactly? Surely that would indicate that your consciousness is not then a product of brain function, that your consciousness is beyond the brain and the body. Otherwise, near-death experiences wouldn't be possible. Neither would out-of-body experiences be. I've spoken to someone who, he wasn't particularly spiritual, actually. He was mainly in the business, and he said he was on a course, and it was particularly, mentally intense, sort of focused management type consulting stuff, that kind of a course. And he said because his mind had to be so sharp and he was physically exhausted, he lay down in his bed at the end of a particularly taxing day, and he just disconnected from his body. And suddenly he's floating in the top corner of the room. And he's looking down on his body going, what the hell's going on here? Have I died? What's going on? Because my awareness, I'm able to actually see my body lying there, but I'm not in my body. Well, I mean, these experiences are usual, but they've happened many, many times. Out-of-body experiences, astral traveling. So what, science just ignores all that and says, well, he's just delusional? Well, how do we know that he wasn't delusional when he was in his body? Maybe being out of his body was more expanded. Maybe that's the truth. It calls all kinds of things into question. If one of these kinds of experiences, miracles, so-called, is real, then it questions the entire scientific materialist paradigm. And the whole thought system has to go with it, which is why they defend it, so vigorously, because one crack in it, that's the thin edge of the wedge, it's going to crack it all open and reveal its falsity. And then the ego's in trouble, which is why they, people who want to believe in this dedicate so much time and energy to defending it. I'll give you another example with Anita Mojani, her oncologist, and she has this amazing turnaround. She goes into, near-death experience for 30 hours when she's in a coma. She comes back and she starts to heal. Her tumors start shrinking, and they can't explain it, at such a rapid rate. Within, I think her tumors had shrunk by 70%. I mean, it's, unheard of. They don't understand it. So, but yet he says, no, it wasn't the near-death experience that she's written a book about. It was her chemotherapy kicking in. Well, it's just ridiculous. It's ludicrous that anyone seemingly intelligent could believe that. But he has to believe that, or else his entire thought system of scientific materialism is shattered. Okay, well, maybe there is something else. Maybe the mind, there is a transcendent presence or awareness that can heal in a way that, our science and our magic can't. And then I have to accept that. And then that completely rocks my world. Then he wouldn't be the same person anymore, would he? And he might question his whole career. Well, why am I doing this then? Maybe this is true. So instead we defend and we deny it. We say, no, 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 it can't possibly be that. We've got to find some other more rational explanation, which actually makes no sense at all. She hadn't had chemo for days, maybe even weeks. I don't know the history, but I mean, the doctors basically said, look, she's out of here. Her organs are failing. Say your goodbyes. There's nothing more we can do for her. She's as good as dead. That's what they said to her family. So this miracle of, suddenly she's not dead, they couldn't explain it. And then they, perceive it as threatening. Well, how can healing be threatening? Well, it is if you fixate on your flatland worldview. Even though, like, it's a very depressing thought system. There's nowhere else to go. You must accept that you're mortal. You're bound to experience suffering, age, and death. So the choice is clear. You either see nothing is a miracle, i.e. it's just flat land, there's nothing else, that's all there is to life, or everything is a miracle, i.e. you perceive that there's a deeper dimension or presence of pure formless awareness that underlies every form in this world. We call that miraculous. He's quite correct in what he says. It's one or the other here. You can't believe in both. So you can see he's starting to come into the non-dual thinking. Okay, it's this or it's that. You've got to make a choice here. Again, this could be said, this could be a Course in Miracles quote, isn't it? So very much in alignment with the Course. So you start to see that these great thinkers throughout history start to come into alignment with this teaching we call A Course in Miracles. So this flatland worldview doesn't explain very much. It doesn't explain what happens before birth and after death, or why the universe and the separate forms of life that seem to populate it exist at all. They can't explain the Big Bang. They just assume it happened. You say, why did it happen? We don't know. Well, don't you think that's a massive hole in your theory? The why surely is the most important thing. Science seeks to answer the question how, but why can't answer. So it leaves these huge unanswered questions, and it can only be maintained through denial that anything other than the world shown to you by your physical senses is real. Rupert Sheldrake and others argue that, well, that's just poor science. So you'll never find happiness in this perception because it isn't true. It fails to give you any sense of real meaning in life. After all, if we really are only born to have a lifetime of fleeting and often unhappy experiences in which we can hold on to nothing and then are doomed to ultimately die, what meaning can our lives really have? So what you look for then is a short-term hedonistic kind of existence. You go, okay, well, I'll just live for today and I'll get whatever pleasure I can out of today because there may be no tomorrow. I'm going to die. So, this is all I have right here, right now. So it doesn't breed any kind of long-term thinking, any kind of wisdom saying, okay, I'll defer gratification now for a later date. It breeds a very hedonistic kind of consumer type society, which is not an accident then. That's why we have the society we do, because the thought system of scientific materialism dictates that kind of society. So it's not an accident. And this is what we're learning in this teaching, is that nothing is accidental. It's all a product of mind. If it's false mind, if it's false belief, then what can you expect but false results? And if it's true, then you can transcend all the falsity and you can go back home into the truth. Okay. So that's the one kind of view of the world. The other hand, the alternative miraculous perception offers a world of infinite meaning and purpose, because it allows you to see or understand beyond the appearance of things in this world to their very essence, which is the primordial pure formless awareness that preceded the idea of separation and the consequent Big Bang that birthed this material universe. So miracles connect you directly with this transcendent awareness, which is demonstrated quite well here. So we don't want that. Sorry, let's just go into, let's close that. And the consequent. So What the Course proposes is an alternative miraculous perception, offering a world of infinite meaning and purpose beyond this world, beyond the construct of time and space and separation and any of the laws and rules here. It allows you to see beyond the appearance of these things in this world to their very essence, which is the primordial, pure, formless awareness that preceded the idea of separation and the consequent Big Bang that birthed this material universe. This is an infinite, eternal presence that, because it is eternal, still underlies all forms of matter and energy in this world. So if we choose to perceive this presence in everyone and everything, they become the miracles or corrections of transformed perception that show us this presence is real and underlies everyone and everything in this world of form. Yeshua calls this miraculous perception of the world Christ's vision. In the Course in Miracles, we call it true perception as well. In the Course, it says that it's essential to your true function in this world, which is to be happy while you're apparently here and prepare your mind to leave the world behind entirely, a process he calls salvation or at-one-ment, and we translate as enlightenment or awakening in our translations of the workbook and text. So as he points out in today's workbook lesson, it's also essential that you perceive everyone as Christ or your true self. You're to help anyone else to heal their mind of the misperception of flatland and experience a happy dream while they walk the path of enlightenment that will ultimately lead them to awaken from the dream, as Einstein calls it the optical delusion of consciousness. So that brings us nicely to today's lesson, which is very much aligned with the quote today. So let's read that, shall we? Let's go into this. I give the miracles I have received. Give the miracles you received. No, I don't want that code. Let's find this. Where are we? It hasn't automatically brought that up. So done a lot of auto recovering there. So let's go lesson 159. Okay, so if you can read that.
Yeah, I give.
Just hang on. All right. So let me just start the recording here. Okay, so yeah, lesson 159. You can read it in the original and alternative.
I give the miracles I have received, or I have the corrections I have received.
Yeah, I give the corrections. So miracles are corrections in our translated language, which correct our delusions. If we're in an optical delusion of consciousness, the corrections correct the delusion, and they correct our perception. And I give those as I've received them. So when I've corrected my own mind, I can give that corrected perception to others, and I do that in my thoughts and my words. My thoughts are one level, but I do it in my words and my actions. So I extend it out. I extend the miracles outwards. It's helpful, again, I think, to translate miracles as corrections. So otherwise it can be a bit, well, okay, I'm expecting a miracle and we don't really know what a miracle is. It took me about 10 years to figure out what a miracle is, studying the Course. Oh, okay, it's a correction. Before I came to the Course, I thought miracles were phenomenal acts of manifestation, like Jesus did. Walking on water, turning water into wine, healing the sick, raising the dead, etc. So cool, I'd like to do some of that stuff. So let me read A Course in Miracles. Honestly, that's the way I thought, because I was very much into manifestation. And then as you go deeper into it, you realize, well, it's not really about the physical. It's not about, those manifestations, manifested miracles. The real miracle is the change of mind. It's the changing of your mind about who you think you are and what reality is. That's the real miracle or correction. Okay, so talking about that, it's the same whether we give or receive it. So if you can read that in the alternative, just the laws of heaven will become the laws of pure formless awareness.
Yeah.
From
Just
translation
to let you
heaven.
know that I've only got 10 minutes because I've got to go and I haven't even taken the dog out yet, so I've only got 10 minutes. Sorry about that, but I'll have to get my duties done.
Okay, well, we'll do 10 minutes then.
Yeah.
Of the lesson.
Second right. Okay. I cannot give what I have not received. To give a thing requires first I have it in my possession. Here the laws of pure formless awareness and the world agree, but they also separate. The world believes that to possess a thing, it must be kept. Awakening teaches otherwise. To give is how to recognize I have received. It is proof that what I have is mine.
Yeah, thoughts on that?
Well, it's just saying to give a thing requires first that I have it in my possession, and the laws of pure formless awareness and the world agree with that. So they're saying that to possess a thing, it must be kept in the law, in the world. But awakening teaches otherwise. To give is to recognize that you have received. So
the law of possession in this world says if I give something material away, it was an object with its money, I don't have it anymore. So I've lost it. Whereas if we orient towards the mind and spirit of joy, then I experience more of it. So I haven't lost it. In fact, I've received it. That's how I recognize that I've received it. But it's a profound lesson. It's a very difficult lesson for most people to learn because they're so fixated on the material that that governs their mind, their perception, and they find it very difficult to go, well, it's not all material. Actually, there's the quality of mind that's beyond the material, and if I give love, I feel that love. I can't give it and not experience it. So therefore, have I really lost it? No, actually, I've gained it. By giving, I've gained from that perspective. But you see how then that undoes the belief in scientific materialism. You can't believe you're a body anymore. You can't believe in the reality of the material world. You're starting to believe in the reality of mind and states of mind as primary reality. Completely overturns the ego, which is why people struggle with it so much. That's why the world is so ungenerous, because it's just about the material. I don't want to give, because if I give something material, I've lost it. This teaching says give freely, even if you're giving something material, you haven't really lost it because you've actually gained love, and you've gained a sense of gratitude and love and appreciation in that process that is more valuable. But you have to orient yourself now to the spiritual, to this. It's a profound reorientation to this different alternate reality, which we see in the integral model. It's a reorientation if you really apply this lesson from the external world, the world of form, and that you believe you're a body and a brain and rooted in the physical body and the separate self. And if you really accept this lesson, you have to believe then in the subjective I, the world of emotions and memories and thoughts that's beyond the body. And then to see that as you give love and peace and joy and anything of value here, you experience more of it. So you haven't lost it, you've gained it. But the ego doesn't want you to see that, because if you see that, that's the end of it, which is why the world is so ungenerous. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so this one, I understand I'm healed when I give healing. Any translation means forgive is to let go, or release. So just read an alternative.
I understand that I am healed when I give healing. I accept I am released when I let go. I recognize my companions as myself, and so I perceive that I am whole. There is no correction of perception I cannot give, for all corrections are given to me. I receive them now by opening the storehouse of my mind, where they are laid, and giving them away. So it's just saying that we now realize that when we're healed, it's because we've given healing. And I accept I am released when I let go. And we see our companions as our self, capital S, so that we are perceived as whole.
And you see, I mean, we talked about that person in our life. You're seeing it completely opposite. You see how the ego denies that all the time. It doesn't recognize your companions as yourself. It says, no, that person's separate and different from me based on an illusion of form. Because they've got a different body, they've got a different skin color, they've got a different worldview, they've got a different economic or social status. All of these are mechanisms of the ego to justify separation, when in fact there is no separation. He's saying, the corrections that I can make, these miracles, are the corrections. When that thought system is presented to me, I don't have to believe it. The correction is simply to say, I don't believe this. This isn't true, because actually only eternal love is true, and we are one. And there's the correction that you have the opportunity to make in your own mind when you're confronted with the falsity of the ego's thought system. And that's what we have to do in this world. It can seem to be quite tiring and wearying, but actually, why should it be? You can just dismiss it as illusory. So it has no meaning, it has no purpose, it has no value. I don't have to believe this. And fortunately, generally nowadays, no one's forcing you to believe their point of view. You don't have to believe it. Just hold your peace and say, well, it's fine. I don't have to argue with you. That's what you want to believe, but it's your choice. I can choose to deny, this false thinking and teaching and believe the truth instead. And of course, the people who believe in falsity are going to feel challenged by that. If you express that, they're not going to probably welcome that, because you're saying you're wrong. Your entire thought system, your entire worldview, in fact, your entire reality as a person, as a human being, is wrong. Who wants to know that? So then we shoot the messenger, as has happened many times in the past over the course of human history, like Yeshua and many others have just been killed because we don't want to hear the message of truth. We want to maintain our illusions. Okay, so let's read one more, shall we?
Yeah.
So I'll read, to translate it, I'll read the original and you read the alternative. Christ's vision is a miracle.
My true self's vision is a correction in perception.
So that's what vision means. When he talks about vision in the course, it's a correction in perception. It's a true perception that comes about from correction or forgiveness. It comes from far beyond itself, for it reflects eternal love and the rebirth of love, which never dies, but has been kept obscure.
It comes from far beyond itself, for it reflects eternal love and the rebirth of love, which never dies, but has been kept obscure.
Christ's vision pictures heaven, for it sees a world so like to heaven that what God created perfect can be mirrored there.
My true self's vision pictures the state of pure formless awareness, for it perceives a world so like this state that what pure love, what perfect love extends perfectly can be mirrored there.
Let's make that pure formless awareness. Is it like to know what God created perfect can be mirrored there? What? Yeah. Almost. Awareness of perfect love extends perfectly, can be mirrored there. So it can be mirrored or reflected. Christ's vision pictures heaven. It sees can be, yeah, can be mirrored there. Would you say reflected is better, maybe?
Yeah.
Reflected there.
Yeah, that sounds good.
The darkened glass the world presents can show but twisted images in broken parts.
The limited reflections the world presents can show only twisted images in broken parts.
The real world pictures heaven's innocence.
The real world pictures the innocence of pure formless awareness.
No, shows. Okay, and from the top in the alternative.
My truth's vision is a correction in perception. It
My
comes
true
from
self. We missed out the self. My true self's vision.
my true self's vision is a correction in perception. It comes from far beyond itself, for it reflects eternal love and the rebirth of love which never dies, but has been kept obscure. My true self's vision pictures the state of pure formless awareness, for it perceives a world so like this state that what pure formless awareness of perfect love extends perfectly can be reflected there. The limited reflections the world presents can show only twisted images in broken parts. The real world shows the innocence of pure formless awareness. It's just saying our
Yeah.
true self's vision is a correction in this perception, and it comes far beyond itself because it reflects this eternal love, and it never dies. But it's been
we have
kept
to see beyond the darkened glass. That's by glass he means mirror. But the limited reflections this world presents. So it's quite a nice image of, okay, imagine like a cracked, fragmented mirror. And you're trying to see reality in that, and it's all in pieces. And that's kind of how our perception of this world is. It's a cracked, broken mirror. And we try and see wholeness in that. And we look and we look and we can't see it because the mirror is fragmented. So we have to see beyond it. So look beyond that cracked, broken misperception to the wholeness that lies beyond it. So the mirror is set on a frame or a wall, and that wall is pure and white. You look there, not in the mirror. Don't look, in other words, don't look in the world, which is just this cracked, broken mirror of reality. Look beyond it to true reality. And that shows you the innocence that you really are and that everyone is. And then you can even in the cracked, broken, fragmented world that you still have perception going on, but the deeper knowledge makes that whole. So no, you don't focus on the cracked brokenness of it. You understand the deeper wholeness that underlies it all, and that perception takes over. That perception becomes the dominant one, and the cracked, broken, fragmented reflections simply fade away. You don't believe in them as true or real anymore. And that's really what forgiveness is doing. It's like all the cracked, broken fragments just get systematically undone, and it cleans the slate. And again, you have this clean, clear mirror, which then makes sense. That's Christ's vision. It's like all the cracks are miraculously healed, and suddenly the mirror becomes whole, and I see clearly. And that's true perception. That's Christ's vision. You go, I see clearly now. I actually see the truth. And that then means you're a moment away from awakening from the whole dream of reflection. You don't need to look in the mirror anymore because you come to know yourself directly. You go, I don't need to look in the world anymore. I know myself as I am. The world's revealed that to me, and I am the Son of God. I'm the Christ. And I see that clearly now. So quite a nice analogy to use to understand again how this process of awakening really works. All right, is that helpful, Elaine? You're welcome to carry on if you
Always.
want. It's a few paragraphs to go, but
But I've got quite a lot, and as I say, obviously I had I need a bit of rest as well because it's been all go the last couple of days as well. So
well, why don't we push on till 10? We might be able to finish the lesson.
oh, do you mind? Because the dog's waiting, and I'm now ready to take him. Yeah, so if you don't mind, I would prefer to do that
Okay.
now. Yeah. Okay. So yes,
All
so
right.
the weekend. So
Thanks for joining. Yeah. Yeah.
have a nice
So
weekend.
yes, yeah, thanks. On I might actually try and run a session on Sunday. I'll let you know. It's Monday we plan is to go off
Oh yes,
to
right. Could it would have
giants.
it would
I'll
have
let
to
you know.
be earlier though because I'm actually popping out. It's in the evening at 7, so it would have to be an
Hmm.
afternoon one if it was Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, maybe that's not going to work. Yeah. Okay. So I'll let you know. We still umming and ahhing about exactly when we go. So if the dates change and we go later in the week, I'll let you know.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's fine. Okay,
All
well,
right.
have a nice holiday, and I'll
Yeah.
await your message of any scheduled Zooms.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
great.
Just watch the Telegram group and
I will. Yeah.
else. Yeah.
Okay. Have a nice weekend,
Okay.
John.
Thanks, Elaine. All right.
Namaste. Good night. Bye.
Namaste. All right. So let's carry on. We'll just finish this lesson. So Christ's vision is the miracle in which all miracles are born. My true self's vision is the correction of perception, in which all corrections are born. It is their source remaining with each miracle you give, or remaining with each correction I give, and yet remaining yours or mine. It is the bond by which the giver and receiver are united in extension here on earth, as they are one in the state of pure formless awareness. It is the bond by which the giver and receiver are united in extension here on earth, as they are one in the state of pure formless awareness, as they are one in heaven. Heaven's translated state of pure formless awareness. Christ beholds no sin in anyone. My true self perceives no sin in anyone. And in his sight, the sinless are as one. In its perception, the innocent are one. Their holiness was given by his Father and himself. Translated, their innocence was given by its source and its self. So I'll read that from the top in the alternative. So my true self's vision is the correction of perception, in which all corrections are born. It is their source remaining with each correction I give, and yet remaining mine. It is the bond by which the giver and receiver are united in extension here on earth, as they are one in the state of pure formless awareness. My true self perceives no sin in anyone, and in its perception, the innocent are one. The innocence was given by its source and itself. So what's he saying here? That our true self is sinless, it's completely innocent, it sees only that, understands only that, and perceives that in everyone and everything. They're one in the state of pure formless awareness. My true self sees no sin in anyone, and in its perception, the innocent are one. My innocence was given by its source and itself. So each correction I make confirms the innocence, my own innocence, and it extends that innocence to others. Usually the corrections are related to other people. So someone said or something, done something you don't like, and you correct your misperception of it. You want to judge it, you want to condemn it, you want to make it real. And instead you say, no, this simply isn't true. Actually, only the truth is true. And I and this person are still one in the innocence of our true self. And that's the miracle of or the correction that leads to true perception or Christ's vision. So let's carry on to number 5. Christ's vision is the bridge between the worlds. So my true self's vision is the bridge between the worlds. And in its power can you safely trust to carry you from this world into one made holy by forgiveness. And I can safely trust in its power to carry me from this world into one made innocent by my letting go. Things which seem quite solid here are merely shadows there, transparent, faintly seen, at times forgot, and never able to obscure the light that shines beyond them. So that's the same, except that the light becomes pure formless awareness that radiates beyond them. Holiness has been restored to vision, and the blind can see. Pure formless awareness has been restored to vision, and the blind can now see. So from the top, my true self's vision is the bridge between the worlds, or realities. Worlds are different realities, this reality and then the transcendent reality of heaven, or the state of pure formless awareness. And I can safely trust in its power to carry me from this world into one made innocent by my letting go. So I can safely trust that my perception is going to carry me into another reality, into another world, another reality, should we say capital R, made innocent, into a reality made innocent by my letting go. Innocent through my letting go. Things that seem quite solid here are merely shadows there, transparent, faintly seen, at times forgotten, and never able to obscure the pure formless awareness that radiates beyond them. Pure formless awareness has been restored to vision, and the blind can now see. So it's saying with this correction in perception, we restore our true vision or true perception. And before we were spiritually blind, now we see correctly. Blind can now see truly. So this is the Holy Spirit's single gift, the treasure house to which you can appeal with perfect certainty for all the things that can contribute to your happiness. And this is remembrance of perfect love's single gift, treasure house to which I can appeal with perfect certainty for all the things that can contribute to my happiness. All can be received, but for the asking. All of them are already here. All are laid here already. All of them are already here. All can be received, but for the asking, I can receive. All of them. Receive all of them when I just ask. Here the door is never locked, and no one is denied their least request or most urgent need. There is no sickness not already healed, no lack unsatisfied, and no need unmet within this golden treasury of Christ or my true self. And this is the remembrance, I'll read it again from the top. This is the remembrance of perfect love's single gift, treasure house to which I can appeal with perfect certainty for all the things that can contribute to my happiness. All of them are already here. I can receive all of them when I just ask. So everything's given me, it's already there. Ask and you shall receive, knock and you will find, and the door will be open. That's this original teaching in the Bible, saying something very similar here. Just be open to receiving. But you got to ask first. So here the door is never locked. No one is denied their least request or most urgent need. There's no sickness not already healed, no lack unsatisfied, and no need unmet within this golden treasury of my true self. So it's all true. And I start to come into the graciousness of my true self and the natural healing that this brings about. So here does the world remember what was lost when it was made. I'll just read this one in the alternative, so nice to translate. So in the state, I remember what was lost when it was made. Well, here it is repaired. The last one in the world is made. We hear it is repaired, made new again, but in a different awareness. What is to be the home of sin becomes the center of redemption on the hearth of mercy, where the suffering are healed and welcome. No one will be turned away from this new home where their freedom waits. No one is a stranger to it. I do not ask for anything from myself or anyone else except to accept the gift of its coming. So yeah, no one's turned away. No one's rejected. No one's a stranger. I just accept the gift of the coming of this unconditionally loving awareness. Perfect loving awareness required. Christ's vision is the holy ground on which the lilies of forgiveness set their roots. My true self's vision is the holy ground in which gifts of letting go establish their roots. True self's say perception, shall we? Here's the only aware foundation in which the gifts of letting go establish their roots. This is their home. They can be brought from here back to the world, but they can never grow in its unnourishing and shallow environment. They need the pure forms of awareness, warmth, and kindly care my true self's unconditional love provides. They need the love with which it perceives them. And then they will become its messengers who give as they received. So perception, my true self's perception, is the gift. It's a holy aware foundation, which the gifts of letting go establish their roots. They're rooted in this perception. This is their home. They need this perception in order to have a place in our mind. They can be brought from here back to the world. Not back to the world, back from here, but they can never grow in its unnourishing and shallow environment. They need pure formless awareness, warmth, and kindly care. My true self's unconditional love provides. Christ's charity is the original So unconditional love is Christ's charity. And He's the love with which it perceives them. And then they will become its messengers who give as they received. And once you've experienced this pure formless awareness, its warmth, its kindness, you tend to perceive everything this way and you extend it out. And then you become its messengers who give as they received. So you can't help, if you believe in a thought system, you've received its benefits. You can't help but want to share those benefits. And then you giving what you received, give as you received. You give it out. Really, you become a channel for this awakened awareness to flow through, Christ awareness to flow into and through your mind. Take from his storehouse. His treasures may increase, his lilies do not. So I take from its storehouse so that its treasures may increase. Its gifts do not leave their home, capital H, when they're carried back into the world. The roots remain. They do not leave their source. Carry its beneficence with them and turn the world into a garden like the one they came from, and to which they go again with added fragrance. Now they are twice blessed. The messages they brought from my true self have been delivered and returned to them, and I return these gifts gladly to it. So as we extend outwards, we come to know the truth. The more we give something, the more we're saying, I have it to give, the more we know that it's true. And then these gifts return gladly to it. So we give love and peace and joy, and those gifts are returned to us in our own experience, because we experience more love and peace and joy. And behold the store of miracles set out for you to give, says Yeshua. I behold the store of correction set out for me to give. Are you not worth the gift when God appointed it be given you? Am I not worth the gift when pure formless awareness of perfect love gives it to me? Am I not worth the gift when pure formless awareness of perfect love gives it to me? Judge not God's Son, but follow in the way he has established. I do not judge perfect love's extension, but follow in the way it shows me. My true self has dreamed the dream of a released world. It is its gift, whereby a sweet transition can be made from death to life, and from hopelessness to hope. Let me dream with it for a moment. This dream awakens me to the truth. Its vision gives me the means for a return to my unlost and everlasting identity, or sanctity in God, everlasting identity in pure formless awareness, perfect love. It is its gift whereby sweet transition can be made from death to life and from hopelessness to hope. So let me dream with it for a moment. Its dream awakens me to the truth. Its vision gives me the means for return to my unlost and everlasting identity and pure formless awareness of perfect love. And so we dream a happy dream. We dream our final dream of awakening. We dream of awakening is our happy dreams. The only way we're even going to find any sense of happiness, contentment, peace in this world. Because it's a return to our unlost and everlasting identity and pure formless always perfect love. So a call to awaken from the dream, a call to make this into a happy dream, to correct our minds, change our minds, and amen to that. So the call really to awaken to our true self and perceive everything correctly. So showing, just demonstrate this in a diagram quickly, just to end this session. So just put it in context. Diagrammatically speaking, this is what this system looks like. This is the Holy Trinity, an operating system for your life. So see Christ, or the true self, Christ's vision is true perception. Christ's vision, which are the miracles or the corrections. There's also called forgiveness or letting go. Other teachings call it surrender, acceptance. Course in Miracles calls it salvation, atonement, or alignment, as I prefer saying it. And then in other spiritual traditions, it's called enlightenment, satori in the East, rebirth, awakening. It's called resurrection. So it's the transformation of our perception from the perception of a separate self and all of its misperceptions of this very changeable world in which people, things, places, events, circumstances, situations, trauma, successes, failures, and all other experiences seem to exist and happen in this physical universe of time and space. All of that is transformed in our perception. It still seems to be happening because that's the nature of the dream, but we no longer judge it in the same way as real, as worthy of valuing, of desiring, of fearing, feeling guilty about. None of that. None of that seems to exist anymore. So that raises us up. When we do this, we let go of our misperceptions of these situations. We are accepting our true self. This is how we start to accept who we really are. And that who we really are, the kind of placeholder for that in this world is the true self, or the Christ, also known as the Son of God, with extension of perfect love and alternative language. In other traditions, it's called the Buddha in Buddhism, the awakened one. That literally means, and the Atman is the soul in Sanskrit. So it's an awareness that's transcendent. It's beyond time and space, but it can still perceive from that lofty vantage point of outside time and space. It still perceives what's going on in this world, but from the perspective now of perfect oneness of God, the Father, heaven, truth, oneness, being, and so on. So that's top level. God, Father, heaven, truth, oneness, being, pure form, so on is perfect love is our full name for God, source, knowledge, revelation, spirit, nirvana. And there's others you can go on. There's many, many names for this. And that is beyond correction. That's beyond the true self or the Christ. It's beyond the need for correction of perceptions. It's beyond the Holy Spirit, which is just a mechanism that facilitates that correction of perception. And in pure formless awareness of perfect love, when we're there, we are once again one with God. We are one in and with this pure formless awareness. And so it is. So just pause for a minute or two, breathe, close your eyes, and just reflect on this truth that this lesson is designed to. So feel that presence, that love, feel the transformative power of it. It's like holding on to this. It's the key. Stay in this awareness and let this awareness change your mind. And rubber meets the road in the change of mind about particular circumstances and events and people. So our path is to stay in the true self, correct our perceptions, become more and more rooted in the true self of the Christ through corrections or letting go, forgiveness, letting go, miracles, all the same to correct our perceptions. And the more we do that, the more we identify with our true self, strengthens this pure formless awareness and perfect love that underlies the true self. And eventually we're so rooted in this awareness that God takes the final step, means that any sense of a separate self and any need for corrections just drops away. We let go of the body, we let go of this world, and we come with holy empty hands. Jesha puts it in the course to our God. We come with holy empty hands, empty mind, really. It's empty intentions, empty of doing. And we stay rooted in this divine awareness, pure form, awareness of perfect love, which is knowledge of God, which is who we really are. And that's beyond the world's, beyond any need for the Holy Spirit being the transformation of perception. Is beyond the. And so just dwell on that for a few moments, close your eyes, take a nice deep breath in, connect with that essence, that truth. So just connect with that. Nothing else to go, nothing else to do, nothing else to say. Just let that guide you. And all your thoughts, words, and actions. That's what it means to be in the Christ, to live this course, to live in the domain of the miraculous. Whatever language you want to use, it's all the same. It's living in this, what I call mezzanine level of the true self of the Christ that knows that is one with its source, and leave the world from that connected state of unity consciousness, of the one awareness, which it can do. That is its function. That's what it's meant to do. And if you keep doing that, at some point you merge back into the pure formless awareness of perfect love. And your awareness is once again just part of this, the whole awareness. That's the merging of the Father with the Son, no more separate self. Yeah, so on that note, I think let's leave it there for tonight. If you enjoyed that session, and do join us in one of these sessions again soon. If you remember, then watch the Telegram group and the emails for notifications about live sessions. I'm probably going on holiday next week, so might only be able to run one session. But just if you want to be notified when I'm running sessions, to spelling in the background of this video if you're watching the video, lifebull.com, and you can sign up there to join our Telegram group. I send out every day a daily quote. You saw today's quote with some teaching, my own comments on that quote, which lead into the daily lesson from A Course in Miracles, adapted in alternative language. And you also get a short mini meditation or breath break to help you actually practice the lesson. So, and you'll be notified whenever I go live, and be given the Zoom link, so you can join these live calls for the first 3 weeks at no charge. So check it out at lifebull.com, sign up to receive daily Telegram messages, and then do join us for a session in future. Okay, so, and if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, it's an easy way of staying connected, because I live stream 3 or 4 times a week. When I'm not away, next week won't be, but only 3 or 4 times a week. So you can then get that live stream. You'll be notified of the live stream by YouTube, and you can just join and watch the live stream when I go live. So thank you for watching and listening. I'm wishing you a very peaceful, happy and flowing evening and weekend ahead. Namaste, which means the Christ or true self in me acknowledges and honors that same Christ or true self which works miracles in you. Peace. Shalom. Namaste. Bye for now. Hope to see you in the